this recording. The last one, I wouldn't start the recording right away because it used to lock up on me. So again, I want to see how long this thing's actually going to last. This is our first night with this. So Kevin, this one's all about you, my man. I'll show you more about that at our first location.
Okay.
But let's get the accompanying item out for that just so we can get that squared away. All right, this is the neuralizer from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember anything by the time we're done. But Nick, you're recording everything. Lasers. So we're going to be using lasers, and they are actually going to accompany your device because you can't see the lasers until something passes through it. So we're hoping to actually capture motion here. So in the event that we actually have something going through it pretty quickly, obviously I'll take that still and be able to show you what we actually caught. We're going to be using two different styles of lasers. The second one gives us red squares. The reason I use this one is because if we capture something here and I can get a still out of the camera, I can put it in 3D software and actually show you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements.
Oh,
it's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So far the anomalies I've caught out of this guy, the software would not take. They were too blurry. So it was still very cool stuff, but the software just wouldn't take it. I've had this particular laser, the red one, for about a year now. So again, hopefully maybe tonight is our night, especially with the new camera. Fingers crossed. Right? So lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble, so we're going to keep them on the ground. So you're always going to point them at the ground, Miss Laura, and that way they stay within 3 to 4 feet in front of you. Basically, have them touch your feet. That's basically the easiest thing. You don't want to cross the streams either. It's a bad Ghostbuster joke, but that also works here. You kind of want to create a nice big grid. So again, that way, and when you're filming this, you're going to stand 3 to 5 feet away, filming through the laser. I don't want you pointing at the ground. There's no point. We know what the squares and the stars look like. We want to see something passing through the laser that we normally wouldn't be able to see. So, we do have a laser law in Charleston, so no pressure. Don't get Nick arrested.
No problem.
Spirit boxes. Let's get into them. I have a lot of them, and they all do something a little bit different from the next. So, spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. With this particular, you guys seem like you're very in tune with a lot of these devices already. Is there something that I have that you might be? Yeah, you are.
Oh no, I'm just a spiritual medium, so I'm just focused.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you for letting me know. That's a big deal. So I'll explain why in a few moments. Spirit boxes are going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. On your TV shows and your YouTube videos, it's basically the white noise, right? And then obviously your host, Zach Bagans, is going to tell you the BS he thinks he heard in the middle of it. So mine are going to work a little bit differently. It is sweeping through the FM radio stations the same way, but they're slowed down. Those anomalies that they actually show you on television, those are also a rarity. So to be able to find a disembodied voice, I capture maybe 4 to 5 of those per year. So I have it slowed down, allowing the radio chatter to come through. When we hear something and we can actually make it out, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, the person in history we're talking about, or something going on with one of you. It happens all the time. So this one's going to record the entire session for us. No outside noise, and the people, I have 2 of these I'm going to be handing out. So the 2 people going to be using these are going to have an earbud. You can see them hanging. I don't want earbuds back. Earwax is gross. So they're going to be the only ones that hear it in real time, but I'm going to be taking notes. I keep a little notepad with me, so I write everything down. I'm also going to spot check this recording and give you about 15 to 25 more markers tomorrow morning on top of whatever's heard in real time. So kind of keep that in mind. I'll be jotting a lot of things down. This one is already recording. You're my chatty Cathy. So you obviously are going to untie those, but your volume is right here. You don't need to worry about any other button. It's already doing the job. You can play with the volume all you want. You're not going to mess up the recording, just so you know. And it's already all the way down. So when you put your earbud in, go ahead and play with it so that we can get used to where that's at. Ella, you're my next person. I'm guessing you're in your teens.
Good guess.
So, teenagers do really, really well with this. So, just because your ears are better than ours. So, again, you're going to have to undo the twist tie. Your volume button is the wheel. So, you can play with that all you want to. And that one is not recording, so I'm going to be relying on you on whatever you hear in real time.
Actually, pay attention.
Natalie, you are getting another new device that I have here. I want to see what pops up out of this, and there's a reason why it's going to you, because Gabriel has the camera, so it records audio. This one is live, so it's actually going to be, there's no earbud to go to it. This one works a little bit differently, because it actually sweeps through both FM and AM radio stations at the same time, and it tries to take out the white noise that the two ladies are hearing right now. So again, you're going to hear little tidbits come out. We're hoping that we're going to hear about 10 to 12 words total in our 2-hour time frame. I'm going to put it on mute for right now, just because it can be distracting when I'm kind of going through something like this. So again, when you guys are paired up together, hopefully when something does come through, we'll capture it with the audio from the camera. Your mute button is right here, the only button on the right hand side. Let's see, what we got left?
Sam's left.
So you guys have probably seen these on television, right? So
Yes.
is it right, the
Yes.
EMF
Yep.
number?
Yep.
So this is the new upgraded version. I'm going to be keeping this on me just because I want to see how it reacts. It's actually going to make like a little buzzing noise when it actually goes off. That's a new feature of it. Plus, some little kid dropped mine last week like 20 times, so I had to get a new one. So I was like, oh, I'll get the new upgrade. So I'm going to keep this on me just so I can kind of see how in-depth of a buzz that it's going to give us, so to speak. But this one runs a little bit differently. This is called a millimeter. You're my multifunction person.
Okay.
So basically what this is going to do is it's going to measure electromagnetic fields. So the top number, anything above 2.5 is what I want to know what's going on.
Okay.
So it's 2.5, not point whatever.
Okay.
The reason I say 2.5 is because that is the second green dot on this guy. So that way we can kind of compare and see what's actually happening.
Okay.
So last night was the highest spike I've ever seen.
Okay.
It was over 200.
Holy cow. Wow.
Yeah, that's
okay.
like dangerous levels.
Okay.
The bottom number is ambient temperature. Gabriel finds something on his camera. You and I can debunk it pretty quickly by figuring out if it's actually coming from something man-made or if it's an actual cold anomaly.
Okay.
The last thing that it has is it has a REM pod into it. So it's a motion sensor. If something gets close to that antenna I just pulled out, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher the pitch, and obviously there's an array of color in there that you and I will talk about at our first location.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep that off for right now.
Okay.
But I do want you to focus on these numbers here.
Okay.
That's some type of reason.
Yeah, I do. You have a reader?
I did not pull out.
I'm gonna hear a song.
So I normally have, there's a separate type of spirit box that I use, and I usually have a separate device for it, but I definitely wanted to get the red spirit boxes out first. So I'm going to run it on my phone, because yes, it is a phone app, and I'm going to explain it. So it's basically going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. Okay, so you guys all play with these apps, right? Some of them work, some of them are bogus. It's going to save all of the terms to a list. Last night we had 117 terms come up because I did it the exact same way. I had a little bit of a smaller group. So again, that's a lot for a 2-hour tour. So I'm going to clear out last night's list because they already have it, and we're going to start off fresh. The cool thing about that is it gives me timestamps. So that way if something does pop up that's relevant, I can watch the videos in those timestamps, listen to the audio, you guys get where I'm going. 80% of this is bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. It doesn't mean anything. So it's the other 5 to 20% that, again, I'm going to give you the explanation and a link to be able to verify it based on our location. Is that fair to everybody?
Yeah, that's great.
So again, you guys are getting me double whammy tonight because I'm trying out a new device and using this guy. So I'm going to let that run in my pocket. Thanks for making my bag much lighter. All right, guys, go have fun. Let me know what happens. Tell me you're in charge. She's like, nope. I can't even hear you.
Yes,
So-
right.
So, again, is this what everybody thought they signed up for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like you guys are pretty in tune, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
usually if I have a negative Nancy on the group, it's never fun.
Yeah.
So, cameras, real quick. Cameras, people do not like their cars to be filmed. They do not like to be filmed themselves. If I do kind of like an Andy's humming kind of mentality, I'll say act casual. Basically, you're going to point your camera at the ground, and then you're going to be playing with a cell phone. So again, I don't like to be screamed at. You guys don't like to be screamed at.
Right.
People's cars, we get it, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about why we started here. Let me get a drink of water first, because Natalie over here is going to make me talk all night, and she's not going to say a word again. I do a pretty good name so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the Chandler's throwing me off.
It always does.
Think of friends.
I did, but I was expecting a guy.
I
Oh
got
my god. All the time.
So,
all
Yes.
the time.
just putting it out there.
Sorry.
I don't lie about anything, sorry.
Okay.
No filter.
No problem.
All right, so Big John's behind me. There's a reason why we started here. So Big John's used to be owned by a football player, Big John Kennedy, 1947 New York Giants team player. So this was his bar after his career. He actually used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. But one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty pissed off, and they come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, slams down his beer, gets up, and just starts pounding these guys into the floor, beating the heck out of them. Gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, and the bullet lands in the wall behind him. John gets up. He's the only one that's been shot, by the way. Goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor in ambulance. So here's the irony. Don't mess with Big John, big grins. Secondly, nobody dies in that story. You think of a haunting, you think of a ghost, somebody's dead, right? What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. So this is a new renovation we have with Big John, so it's a possibility that they may have filled it in. So even if they didn't fill it in, that means that Big John's blood is still in the building. So
You'll take your bike taxi?
what's that?
Are you taking bike taxi?
No, the bike taxi place is right over there. I'm not sure if it's open right now though.
Oh.
Obviously the lights are all out. Unless you were waiting on a bike taxi.
No, it just looked like they were open from 9 to... Okay.
So that's the place right there. Big yellow sign.
Thank you. You can always walk back.
So where was I, Ella? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I have teenagers, I have kids older than her. So, at any rate, so the bullet hole allegedly still here. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. This is kind of your heated warning. If anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight, I need to know immediately. I won't lie, psychics and mediums normally don't make it. So, we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm going to be keeping an eye on you all night long. Yeah.
I'm used to it.
So, I don't like to, keep heeding on that warning, but it's a very big deal. People have passed out on this tour based on certain locations. So, let's talk about something other than our own health, right? Yeah, because that's probably the scariest thing I'll tell you all night long. Once I tell you that you might get sick. So, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from another tour, because we all talk about it, you do now. It's South Carolina. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. This building behind me is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front on the East Bay side to my right. A piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed him. They say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night, and that came from the previous bar owner that I used to chat with quite frequently. I say apparently and allegedly a lot because I don't have any proof of that story. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just mentioned it again. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting?
Let's go.
All right, we're going to go this way.
%95 chance I run face first into something while I'm trying to focus on my.
Look at the disconnect.
All right, so everybody, think of your time with me tonight as kind of a ghost hunting 101, all right? So most of you have never done this before, so we're going to start off very easy and we're going to work our way through. So with that said, this is a very easy spot. This is where I get to show you more about your devices, and then we're going to deep dive into much long ago history than what we're about to talk about. So this is the big red barn lot. This is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. They don't like the white noise, which is why you guys are using earbuds with your spirit boxes. They also don't like lasers, so obviously no lasers are going to go in that building. We're not going to be here long anyway. So the history here is a one-liner. I made it that way on purpose just so I can prove a point. This is where we used to keep horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a building, because I talk so fast, I've learned to slow down on the certain keywords for all the spirit box teams. So over there it was 47, New York, Giants, John, and anything relatable to a bar. Over here, I just said the words delivery, milk, eggs, and anything relatable to a stable would be relevant here. So let's talk about those spirit boxes. How many do we got in play tonight? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got 4 in play. I have 6, 7 total now. So again, I have to keep track of how many I actually handed out. But at any rate, so this is not TV. This is not a Ouija board. This is not, is somebody here? Because everybody wants to ask that. Because if somebody says no, that means somebody's here. Right? So we're not going to be asking yes or no questions all night long. Some of these spaces I'm going to kind of give you impromptu questions. You can use them. If you go rogue, just make sure you stay away from yes or no questions. And obviously things that we can actually prove. In a space like this, I would normally say, if you guys were going to spread out, which we probably won't because I want to get to much deeper history for you guys, you would ask a question you already know the answer to. So if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is, right? Something very simple. Obviously, we're going to be looking, because I have the word list, and listening for the color red. However, all of the spirit box teams tonight are using basically DJs and song lyrics to convey messages back to us. The word red might not be there. So, fire truck, blood, heart. Those three things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, most of the night I'm going to say that's a good start, but I need something else to verify what's going on. For example, if my word list gives me the word art, and Natalie hears the number 40 come out of her spirit box, those two terms don't mean anything by themselves. Put them together, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You guys see where I'm going with this? I always look for a verifier, whether it's an EMF reading, a spike on the REM pod, something else has to be going on before I say it's actually solid evidence. Now, with that said, I'm going to, like I said, give you guys other questions throughout the night. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, so let me kind of talk to the cameras for just a moment. Go ahead and put one of your lasers down on the ground for me. Perfect. So that's like right there. Have the tip touch your toe, and you're at the perfect spacing already. I already have you recording. I want to wait to see how long it's going to go. So if we get 2 hours of footage out of that, super great. I know it's actually working the way it's supposed to. The last camera I had only got us about 20 to 30 minutes before it pretty much gave up. I also attached an outside battery source, so it will not die. It will keep going. I'm hoping that the recording part of it is going to keep up with what I'm able to do out here for you guys. So I will always give you the safe space. You can cut that off now that you got used to them. Just keep in mind when you turn on the red one, it stays on because it's a toggle switch.
Okay.
So if you let go of it right now, it'd be pointing at the red bar.
Got it.
So again, always keep in mind, and no pressure, they do set off car alarms.
Oh my
Again, notice how I kind of separate everything, so you're not like, oh my God, what did he hand me? As far as your camera, Gabriel, you're going to try to do two things for me. You're going to try to keep one of us in view at all times. The reason why is we're going to be the warmest thing out here. So that's going to put that array of color on the screen for everybody. It's going to be much easier to see cold spots if we have that variance of heat and cold. So the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out. The reason why, guys, I forgot to tell you, there is a blue dot that's bouncing around that screen on Gabriel's camera. It is giving us the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So it kind of helps direct your eye when you guys are watching it. When you put it on the sky, it automatically defaults to the sky because it's looking for a surface. There's no surface on the sky unless he finds Jupiter. So I doubt you will because it's not very clear. So again, some of those spaces it's going to be impossible to keep the sky out, so just kind of do your best. And again, try to keep one of us in view at all times, even if it's at a distance. So very interesting the way that camera works, and you guys are going to have a blast watching it. Let's see, I think I'm going to cover the REM pod at the next space, just because we started off a little later than I like to, but that's okay. And again, I don't pay attention to time, so I want to make sure we're actually capturing evidence other than going through teachers and trainees, right? So let's deep dive much deeper than horses and ponies, yeah? Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, let's go this way.
You want me to start the recording now?
It's already recording.
It is?
I do that on purpose, just
okay,
because...
you told me you wanted to wait till...
No, I start yours at the beginning, just because I want everybody to learn how to watch it when they get it back. Okay. I have nothing on the word list just yet, except for the word P, and weren't we just discussing P's?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
We were.
Yeah, before you guys got here. Well, I know where we're going with these notes there.
Yeah, just heading straight for it, whatever it is.
Take you to some weird spots, didn't I?
But Nick, there's nothing here.
I know, imagine that.
How long is that?
So, you know why I do that disclaimer? It's because, like, I think the 3 bad reviews I've had in the past 3 years have all come from people didn't understand why we were going to the places we were going to. So I make sure I put that disclaimer at the front, like, hey, there's going to be some of these places that there's nothing there. So, all right. Welcome to another parking lot. If you guys don't know where to park by the time I'm done with you, I can't help you. I'm sorry. This place used to be something, obviously, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
So this used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinkney Mansion. So we call it the Pinkney Mansion site. That's what we dub it now. But again, it is a parking lot. And you're all looking around like, where's the mansion? You're going to have to find out what happened to it. So spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn, right? You're going to have to get the answers from your spirit boxes. I'm going to withhold information on purpose so everybody has a genuine experience. Of course, I'm going to be able to verify anything you guys hear if I say that it's relevant. So, let's get into it. Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Now you guys see why I need secondary clues? I need to know who the hell we're talking to. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution. It's a pretty big deal for us here in South Carolina, but I hate politics more than you. So we're going to move on. If I don't mention it, something usually weird happens that I think you'd like to know. So, with that said, Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be like 12 and 14. Just so you guys know, it'll be according to today's standards. The reason I bring it up is because Charles was over double her age when they married, so it's a pretty big age gap. Now, she married him because there was a specific reason. Her father over in England thought he was dying. He wanted to see all of his children one last time. He was trying to bring Eliza back home to England. She didn't think he was dying. She wanted to stay put. She got married instead. Dad did get better, so Eliza was correct. Dad starts sending her apologetic gifts to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, you guys have been in Charleston for at least an hour that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere, I promise. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it right now because that's how we still use it today. Now, it started here, but it didn't originate with Eliza. She just made it a huge cash crop. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated, and then she moved it to a plantation just north of here after experimenting with the plant here.
That's 6.5.
Nice. Good stuff. That's what I'm waiting on. So, I mentioned indigo. That's usually when things start flying all over the place.
4.9.
At this point, because you have a 6.5, anything above that at this point. Let's escalate it so I'm not writing down a million numbers. Because you're gonna, was it 6.5 or 6.9?
5.
Okay, well 6.5. Fair enough. She's got a great memory, right? That was 30 seconds ago. Awesome. So, then she calls her father after she moves the cash crop up to the plantation and says the rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman with, obviously, something unheard of during colonial times. So, that's her business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here, right? So, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back, same year. So it's either really smart or really stupid, right? So, with that said, it just depends on how you look at it.
Speaking of stupid, I think I hit a button because I'm hearing music now
Dude.
constantly.
You should.
Yeah, I think I hit something in the front.
Luckily, you're still recording. There you go. You're back on.
Thank you. Sorry.
So you can ask, well, ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L.
18.5.
That's good. Memorize those because I'm going to have to write them down. You can ask her maiden name, and it will start with the letter L, depending on which one's actually here, because both of them have a maiden name that starts with L. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's not here anymore. Then you can ask, when did that happen? Obviously, I'm giving you a clue that it's a tragedy. So kind of take that in. You're going to get a specific year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Especially with the readings we're already getting. It's awesome. Eliza's children. I told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, right? Signer of the Constitution. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names are, and that's it. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those children. Excuse me. If we poke the bear about what happened to our children, all activity will stop, including all EMF readings we're already getting. I've seen it dozens of times, so I'll pretty much know if I don't have any readings. You guys are like, yeah, nothing's going on. Somebody poked the bear. Don't ruin the tour for everybody. So don't be that guy, right? So names and how many she had. Those things usually come up quite often. If other clues come about, I'll be able to verify them, obviously, based on who's actually here. Eliza's death is where she's pretty open. You can ask her how she died, what she died from, and where she's buried, and how old she was. But there's another big clue that people like to ask about, and that's what president was a U.S. or a pallbearer at her funeral. So if that doesn't tell you how important she was, a president carried this woman to her grave. So it's a pretty big deal. So with that said, we're going to spread out. We are not going to be going in between vehicles or in front of vehicles. We are going to use the lasers in this site. Just so you know, like this is a safe space. Just definitely keep them in front of you. Nice slow movements out of the cameras and the lasers. The slower you guys move, the better. It's a lot easier to see, and when we actually capture something. I do have yet another new thing that I'm trying out, which seems to be working pretty darn well. I'm going to hand it off to Natalie, just because she has my new spirit box, and this is where it seems to be working. So I have a trigger object. So a trigger object is meant to kind of stir things up with whatever we're trying to contact, whoever we're trying to contact. I have here a vial of indigo seeds. So they're very hard to come by. It took 6 weeks to come in, and they were expensive. So no pressure on you either.
No,
So again, that is the little vial is glued to the card. So just kind of hang on to it as you're asking your questions and kind of see where things are going with it. So I'm hoping that things are going to start.
There's already a lot going on.
Awesome. And of course, you and I will have those conversations, and then I will reveal things if you would like me to, which is perfectly fine. I had a psychic on the tour last week who did phenomenal. Normally, I kind of discredit psychics pretty quickly.
Right. That's why I'm more of an observer. I'm not one that talks a lot because you have to be able to
Get
block
it
some of it out as well.
and
The
be
more
accurate.
you talk about it, the more you invite it. So.
And I'm out here 7 nights a week, so it's not like I haven't done my research. So let's spread out. Let's get those spirit boxes turned up. I got to work with Chandler on that REM pod so she knows how to use it. But everybody else, get to work. Let's do this.
I'm following you, right? Because you have the lasers.
You got it. All right, Chandler, come on over.
All right.
I got to write down your numbers first.
Alright. Oh, I need those numbers.
No.
Did she put them in her phone? The other one, super sensitive. I don't know what it was, but it would go super how did you know, like, how that thing
Ask questions so I can see if I can hear anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So let's look at
I don't even know what that word is. So you ask. Well, I just did. You asked for me.
So your emotions doesn't make it cool. And as you're walking around, it's gonna go off. But there's a way to reset it so we can get rid of the false positives. Okay, so on the right hand side, so we're holding your right hand, use your palm. There's 4 buttons on the right hand side. Water. Got it. Okay. Keep your thumb on it. Pretty much whenever that guy is on, what is going on? Like right now. So if we're to go back, I know what to do. Okay. I just eliminated a false positive. Okay. So again, as you move, go ahead.
Anyone think of any questions?
Huh?
He lost me on what we're allowed to ask him.
Yeah, just
How many kids she had?
okay. What were their names?
You want to know the president?
Yeah.
Didn't get anything on the president.
Eliza, how many children did you have?
Let's move closer to the over there.
Is this the entrance to the house, maybe?
No,
Is this the entrance?
that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's probably the entrance to the property at the very least. I think. It's pretty amazing that it's now a parking lot and it used to be a mansion.
Yeah.
One with historical significance too.
Pretty impressive. She ended up being a businesswoman.
Only thing I've heard with numbers is you said one more. That's like all I've like heard with like number wise.
You heard one more?
One more. Like someone said one more.
Hmm.
What else do Eliza, how did you die?
What year did you die, Eliza? Ella. Said we should stay together. We should stay together?
Yeah, because you should be asking the question.
Oh.
I should be asking a question.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Eliza, how did you die?
Should Maria just ask Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Alright, go ahead.
Eliza, how did you go?
So you're hearing anything?
Hold it. Eliza, how many kids did you have? Eliza, what were your children's names?
Take a break for a second. If you want to take a break, it's fine. Just turn it off, put your hands in.
How's your camera working? Is it still running?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so exciting. So exciting. All right. So your guys is like, just like I told Gabriel, this is a lot, like when I find this stuff, it's usually in the review. This isn't always an in-the-moment type thing.
Right.
But again, we don't record it. Again, with the amount of lights that I have coming out of that guy, like we should hopefully be able to at least capture some orbs tonight at
Sure.
minimum.
Okay.
So like that would hopefully be the goal here.
Didn't you hear one more out? One more.
Just trying to get different angles.
I got a 12 something over here. It was real shorter.
Yep.
I've been trying to draw you over here. Without telling you. The reason I felt drawn here is he told me her garden was like
Right through here.
Yeah.
Mhm. Still going.
Man, I'm impressed. Make sure the numbers are still moving. Awesome. I'm highly impressed so far. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So, that's what happens when you have to double the cash to be able to get the right product. It's a good thing everything's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
That's our answer.
I was just going to say, I think you just... back of that church.
Huh?
The back of the restaurant. I feel a little silly.
Huh? Yeah. I think never we use tires, so I don't think we shine it.
No. But I think you would think the same principle though, right? If you're shining against a wall, if the
Something across there,
right?
Yeah.
So in theory it should pick up anything that
Yeah.
and my thought process is too, if we're gonna catch something, something's gonna have to be moving 3 feet off the ground. Right? Because it's passing through.
If we cross in front, walk right in front.
Yeah. Guess that's true. Either a very small person, like a child or something,
Yeah.
or run underneath there. In theory. Go back over where they are. I don't know if they got something going on over there. Give your hands a break.
I'll show you how to kill that video.
Okay.
Gabriel, you can stop yours too. Just hit the red square.
Can we turn this off?
We're going to leave yours on.
Okay.
So, just want to kind of give the cameraman a break.
Does
So,
it like mine is on?
it's the button right here. You just have to tap it, I believe. And then the timer should have stopped in the top corner.
No, it's still going.
Still going. Still learning where everything's at.
Still going.
Damn. You actually had a questionable anomaly show up
Okay,
here
let's go.
on the thermal. Perfect. All right, so here's what goes on here. When we cross that last crosswalk where I kind of rushed everybody through the white walking person, so that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. This is one of the first streets we ever had. You're now inside the original Charlestown. I like to bring people down here because these two buildings that we're looking at weren't here. So little tiny shotgun houses. People used to live here. That's why I'm asking you for names. The names I commonly hear, I think you hit every common name except for the yeah,
I got
Robert.
Steven.
David as
You got
well.
Steven?
I got Steven, I got Joe, I got Rose, and Coffee.
Rose was her last name. You guys are all hitting the very common names except for the two I normally get. The two I normally get are Benjamin and John. So David has come out of that thing almost 2 or 3 times a week in random spaces. So not always the space. But anyway, here's what goes on with Benjamin and John. The reason why those names
Was on.
you heard of John? So those two guys lived here in 1801. When I say people lived down here, I don't mean there was like a dozen or more people that lived here. I'm talking like 4 to 6 people. So when I hear Benjamin and John every 6 to 7 weeks, I don't find it coincidental at all. And they both live down here. And I want to say there was a David down here in Benjamin. I haven't memorized, but the third name I'll often get is the name Jane. So Jane also lived down here in 1801. I have nothing significant about what happened down here in 1801, other than the fact that I keep hearing the same names every 6 to 7 weeks. We're in that 6 to 7 week time period. So last night we actually had the name John show up. The night before that, the name Ben Simmons came up. I caught it in the actual review the next morning. Here's what's interesting about Simmons. This used to be called Simmons Avenue. So, little crazy stuff. Now, here's why I think this is actually happening. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These were made straight from granite. You guys all seem like you're into the paranormal lingo. Limestone is said to be like stirring things up. It's because it comes straight from the earth. So does granite, especially when it sits in the same spot for over 250 years. So the 1790s, roughly, is what you're standing on. So it's called the stone tape theory. These blocks, when they're here this long, are said to hang on to the consciousness and memories and basically replay them back for us to capture on electronic devices. So we've heard it time and time again. And again, I don't hide any of your guys' evidence. Your evidence actually stays on my website for an entire year. So if you want to go back and see what happened, you can see what happened on a birthday or a specific date in mind. But again, the stone tape theory, like it's undeniable. Every 6 to 7 weeks I capture Benjamin and John. So again, if Benjamin shows up, because you already heard the name John, I'll be super convinced. Otherwise, there's 4 different Johns that lived here. Every once in a while, we get John's last name, the 1801 John. His last name was Johnson. So yes, his name was John Johnson. Later on, I went to 1855. Somebody lived here named Alexander. So again, very odd oddities occurred here. Before people lived here, they actually had a Masonic lodging, which is where it gets its name from. So Freemasons. So you get a lot of terms wrapped around that. Every once in a while, we'll get Freemason, Mason, breaks, and then the word Illuminati will show up from time to time. First off, who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio that I'm catching it the next day? And secondly, why am I only hearing it when I'm here? So again, very odd space. They did do an archaeological dig underneath the bricks. They found some residents' clothing, tools, and silverware, and just little odd artifacts. They classified these people as lower class. It makes sense. Across the street from where we were walking, coming down East Bay Street, on the other side is where the other side of the wall would have been. Again, remember, you're inside of it right now. So the smell of low tide would be coming from here quite often. The rich people in Charleston are not going to be dealing with the smell of low tide. If you've been down to the Battery, you've noticed the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back. There's 2 reasons for that. First off, you were taxed based on how much street side you took. So the skinnier your house, the less taxes you have. I showed you the Pinkney Mansion site. It actually sat broad. First off, they're outside the city. They're probably getting taxed a little bit more because they're obviously politicians. But it was bragging rights. They have money. They have their infield farming. They have their politician money. It was bragging rights to show off their beautiful home. The other reason those houses down at the Battery are skinny is because it kept out the smell of tide. We have piazzas here. It's basically a front porch with a door. It helps keep the smell of tide from coming into the home. It would open up the second story window and allow the cool breeze to come in from the water. That actually cold air drops, heat rises. It's old school air conditioning. So that's part of the reason why those houses are set at the angles that they are down there. You'll see that even in some of the neighborhoods, if you look where the water is, it'll all start to make sense on why those houses are angled in specific ways. I stall here and tell you all that history on purpose because, again, we're waiting for the loop to happen. I'm waiting for the recordings to actually be able to capture something. So that's the whole point. What is going to happen from here? We're going to go to another alley. However, I am not taking all the way through it like what we're doing here. I got booted out. Here's why. You guys join me in the linger. You have the blinky lights and the noisemakers and all of that stuff, and it is considered residential at the end. We are allowed to go halfway, but it's an alley like this. Every ghost tour in town goes down there, and I already told you that they go up to 20 people. It's not fair to them or us for 10 of my people to try to work around 20 to 40 of theirs. So again, trying to investigate the space just doesn't work that way. I still stir up quite a bit talking about this every single night just outside the alley. So we're going to get some footage of that alley. What I'm going to tell you is we go through this, we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So it's going to be no laser still, so you're still moving out, and you're going to turn off both the videos as we exit. Spirit boxes, I want you to continue listening in, just to kind of see what's going on. You're still going to be getting like false positives, so we're going to kind of get out of the game for a little while until we get to that last spot. After that, I'm going to see what's going on with the spirit boxes. They're kind of like a myths and legends. Like that one street corner has like 15 stories attached to it. If you guys don't give me anything obviously relevant, then I'm going to go to my normal go-to stories, and then we're going to deep dive into a female pirate at the end. So we'll talk more about that at our next stop. Again, it's kind of a preamp to get that going. That big finale is a crazy whopper of a story. There's a reason why I have to go there. Obviously, I got booted out of it. So, how's it going, man? Oh, you're good. You're trying to work too, brother.
Want to keep everything safe.
Yep. All right, so let's go cut through the neighborhood and see what we can capture. Actually, exit. We'll probably get anyone muted. Anything else? Kind of like
Are these little lights on here?
No, you can't see those lights.
Oh.
They said they're infrared, so you can't see them.
Is this where I'm supposed to turn this off, Nick?
yeah, go ahead and pull it.
Okay.
Other ghost tours are going to be going down there. I know it's very quiet now, but they'll be creeping out of the woods. So, kind of keep that in mind. No, let's go ahead and keep it on mute just for a minute. Let me get through this one just because it's a few minutes long. The alley behind me is called Philadelphia Alley. We named it that to be, we named it after a city that helped us out of one of our many, many fires after dueling became illegal and stupid. It used to be called Dueller's Alley. So this is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. We all tell the story of one duel, but I tell it a little bit differently because you're ghost hunting. You're not just listening to ghost stories around a campfire. So here's where it goes. Doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. We did hear Joe a little while ago, and we're relatively close, but I'm not going to count it just yet unless we get another clue there. So he moves down here because his fiancee Amanda just inherited a bunch of money. Do you need some help? Is it working?
It's still loading.
No. There's a button at the bottom. Let's turn it back on. Should be a little green light right there.
Can you look at that screen and tell me if it's pointing down that alley?
Yeah, you're good. Oh yeah. So Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. There we go. And she has an attorney helping her out with that cash flow. Make sure you hit the circle.
Yeah.
The attorney thinks that the doctor's just after her money, so he tells the doctor to he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. So to prove that he's not just after her money, he moves to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. Somebody walking by with the name Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island. Remember the alley go all the way through to come up. Still nothing super relevant to where we are. I don't know why New York location, but the story, if anything else, is well worth the stop, just because I had to piece a lot together. You said big news. What else did we get? Our family. Cool. Alright, so we're going to be talking about first the little tiny building up there in the front with the crosses on it, and that's the gunpowder magazine. So, those are not crosses, those are earthquake holes. In the event we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1986, you can turn those, like they're on turnbuckles. So you can turn them, and it's supposed to straighten the building back up. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. The reason I point these out is because it's the first set that Charleston ever put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. Notice I said government building, it's not our oldest building. So, with that, I told you also about the Charlestown Walls when we were at Lodge Alley. I do that on purpose because I bring them up again. Where that garage sits is where the wall sits. So it actually went up Cumberland Street and just past the powder magazine and started going south behind me towards the battery. It puts it into the corners on purpose. It's 3 blocks away from the water. If Revolutionary warships or pirate ships are going to attack, it's going to have a hard time penetrating a cannonball all the way 3 blocks away to get through the 32-inch thick walls. It's protecting gunpowder. In the event that it does, and we're going to pretend that it does, it goes through the walls and blows up the gunpowder. There is sand underneath those red shingles that's supposed to go up in the air with the explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's another great idea that doesn't work. Here's why we know that. Another powder magazine closer to the battery, if you know our geography, it's much skinnier down there, so there's less distance it had to go through. The sand went up in the air and the building burned to the ground. It no longer exists. This one has just never been attacked. So, it did serve in 7 different wars for you history buffs, the Civil War being its last servant, just so you know. So, the number 7 shows up quite a bit, if anybody wants to know about that. We haven't heard it yet tonight, but we'll kind of see what actually pops up. We are here because this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. 1703 to 1713 is the construction time. We're here because Anne Bonny actually moved here in 1708, right in the middle of its construction. So this building is familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. It's the same type of mentality. So, let's get the story started. Young lady moves here from Ireland. Irish music, see where I said that? Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. You guys with me so far? The 3 of them are running away from his wife. How mad was she? Getting on a boat from Ireland to land here. Yeah, I kind of know that feeling, don't I? So we had a discussion long before you guys got here. But anyway, they land in Georgetown. Dad buys a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. So he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. That's why we're here. Obviously, familiar building. Back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. So again, I just want to put that mentality in the back of all of your brains as we kind of go through the story. We're going to fast forward. Building's done in 13. In 1715, pirates are coming through town. Anne is stoked. She's probably 16, 17 years old at this time. She falls in love pretty quickly. The guy's name is James Bonny. You see where this is going, don't you? So, Dad doesn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. I'm not going to approve either, Dad, right? So, they run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, the most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. However, when they get down there, this is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking Captain Jack Sparrow kind of pirate she was looking for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This is not who she wanted. She falls in love with a little bit later, a couple years. Guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. Much cooler name, and he has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. Girls curse pirate ships. You can't put a girl on the crew. He makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. Kind of a jerk move, but hey, he's the captain. There was something that just came out of that. I didn't hear what it was. So, with that, how are you feeling, by the way?
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Anytime I'm here specifically at this church, ever since I was a child, because I've lived in Charleston my entire life, I always have an overwhelming experience with all kinds of spirits.
Do we need to move down a little bit?
No, I'll be okay. There's one specifically. It's just it can be distracting.
Okay.
Because it's when they know that you know, it can be distracting.
Totally understood.
Right.
Just wanted to check up on you because you weren't saying much.
Yeah,
So-
that's why.
Alright, where was I? Calico Jack is on the ship, right?
Yep.
Alright, so she's okay with this cross-dressing bit, by the way, because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's okay. She's not going to be a pirate. But let's put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happens to this child. I told you there's a lot of holes in the story. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty mad. So he also just captured another pirate crew while she was gone, delivering his baby, and they're down below deck. We're on guy number 3. Anne's going to go flirty. Guy number 3 turns out to be female, just like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured.
Did you hear that?
I heard something
All
coming
3?
out. All 3. So we're on guy number 3. There's more. We're going to get into that in a minute. So, This young lady that she was flirting with, that she thought was a guy, her name is Mary Reed. The two of them become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for certain. And Mary becomes part of the crew. So the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet to come take down one little ship. Anne and Mary are the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their one-bullet flintlocks. So obviously they're going to not be able to take down the entire fleet. They get captured and they are being arrested. She looks over at her bow and captain, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." Obviously dog being a prominent term here. The judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. I know I told you about Nicholas Trott across the street, but my name shows up here all the time based on all of these different factors. So Nicholas Laws wants to see the two men. After he's already trusted with all of his Irish money, he bails out Anne. She remarries. That's husband number 2, guy number 4, because we don't know about Mary for sure. Has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. I know, very abrupt. You were expecting a whole lot more, I'm sure. Mary Reed died a year later in 1721 in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Probably some bumpy and scurvy and whatever else you want to come up with. So I left out 2 things on purpose because you guys all know how to use your devices by now. The 2 things I left out just to get you started are the names of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the father and the mistress. So you can ask what their names are. You can also ask what the name of Calico Jack's ship is. I left that out purposely as well. So that's anything else you guys want to ask is fair game. You guys know what you're doing by now. Cameraman, I do want you guys to try to get some footage of the front of the Power magazine. And yes, you can use lasers in the front line only. Just make sure they stay on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to be in somebody's living room. Those are apartments. So we're going to basically kind of hang out here for, I'm going to go to the wall, but I told you at the beginning of this that people have passed out in the past and said it's normal, don't make it. Back in September, I had a group about this size. I brought them back here. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost, literally, and he starts to pass out. So I start to pick him up by his armpit. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side, and we carry him over to that wall. I send the boyfriend over for a bottle of water. He brings it back. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's very important to know I hadn't told the story yet. I send everybody out to go play with their devices, and they pull me aside. We have to tell you something. What's going on? We are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as males on the tour, just like Anne and Mary. And it made complete sense at that point why one of them pretty much passed out within minutes of entering the space. So again, it's a very weird anomaly, but they are perfectly fine with being part of my Anne Bonny story at this point.
Maybe that was your September reference.
It could be. I thought of that as soon as I said it. So I'm going to go chill over there by the wall, the spirit boxes. Let me know what you guys find out. I'll pull you guys in within 5 to 10 minutes based on what you guys are getting excited about. So let's have some fun in here. Let's do this. I seen you fiddling around a little bit. Did it lock up or something?
It just stopped, and then I just started it back up.
Okay.
But about halfway through, I realized I wasn't recording anything. So.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting. If you guys are going to go up to the front to get some footage, just make sure you stay out of the way of the other tours. That's the only thing I ask.
Sure.
Let them have it. They're not going to be there long. You're already getting blingy blingies? That's crazy. Like my technical term, blingy blingies?
Bling, bling.
I'm practically a doctor.
You're just going nuts. It's crazy.
You can check out the front.
That happened here last time too, but it's close to the outer edge. Very interesting. Did you have any ratings over there? I will tell you that this is not a hot spot for the EMF as far as the numbers on the red screen, unless you get close to the bushes because the electrical poles and the parking meters are over there.
Okay.
So if you just like stay in the back half of things and get something obviously to see.
Guess if there's another tour, we should maybe let them go first.
Yeah.
Anne and Mary, can you make it stay on one color?
4 years.
4 years.
They've moved on.
Give us one color. I'm thinking blue or purple.
They've moved on.
Right in the middle. Just got to get close to the metal stick.
It's weird. They all walked through here and then went that way. That's an interesting theory about twisting the cross. Yeah. haunted. That light just came on. Oh, maybe that's not. Maybe that's the group. No. This is filmed through here. He said just don't point because those are apartments there and there.
Fire again, I got Hallelujah, I got French War, and there's something else, like Interview. I don't know how to work it.
I'm still my earbud.
All the sponsors, I don't know. We got a lot of stuff.
Oh, there was dry.
Like right here. Should we put it? Like this?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I got so many that I'm also going to remember all.
It's okay. That's why I bounce around. So. Oh, you got the lasers now.
Yeah, she stole my earbud.
I'm super impressed that that's still recording. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I keep checking it.
I see the blinking light on.
Yep, it hasn't stopped again on me, but it did stop there for a second.
Still have those red lights on. No. That guy's still on. Good. So there are lights attached to the camera that actually come in. There's 4 lights up here, and then there's 2 on the side. So there are a total of 10. The bottom switch, just so you know, gives us night vision.
Oh, okay.
I don't use that because it just draws attention from the other tours. Because they like to harass you guys. Like, what's he got you doing now? You know, I told you it's pretty cutthroat out here. So they like to try to debunk what I got you guys doing. But again, they don't know that you get all the cool stuff back tomorrow.
That's right.
walk around. Yeah, right.
You got you listening now too? How you doing? Did you get anything?
So Joe Simpson.
I don't know who the hell Joe Simpson is.
And I asked like who should we be addressing to talk to you, and that we heard all responders.
Look over there.
Sure.
Is Gabriel like just chilling at the front?
He's
Oh,
over
he-
there.
I want to know the name of that ship. I might just look it up. Please don't tell us though.
Don't tell us if you don't ask it. Is that the wall he's talking about?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, it's a tiny little building. Was she supposed to walk with these? Like,
You can.
walk them out? It's like hard.
This is normally where I take a break and smoke, but you guys got me all hustling, bouncing around all night. It's funny. Can I see your green one? I used to do a demonstration, actually show like with the smoke, like what it would look like on the camera.
Oh, look at that.
So again, you can't see the lasers.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of kids on the tour. I'm like, it's not really cool to be smoking in front of 8,
Yeah.
9-year-olds. Like, look how cool the smoke is, kids.
Yeah. Try it now. Start early. Start young.
Tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Anyone ever told you you remind them of Ben Shapiro? Do you know who Ben Shapiro is?
I have no idea who that is.
He's a talk show host. He's conservative, part of a group called the Daily Wire. But
Okay.
you look like him, you sound like him. He speaks very fast.
Really?
Very intelligent guy. Look him up, Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
So I know you don't get into politics. I don't either. But he's very.
I listen to the news a lot. I just don't bring up politics. I don't bring up religion.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are here to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things where I try to keep this as fun as possible.
Right.
So that's why I say no politics. We
Yeah.
don't want to talk about the world. You're here to get away from the world. So
Yep.
like during COVID, when we all had to wear masks.
Oh,
my God, it was
man.
so bad.
I can imagine.
It was really bad.
I can imagine.
But that's why I keep that stuff out. Only because I have an evangelist brother. Like, we're on the total opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, I'm kind of famous in my own right doing this because I'm a writer and podcaster and all
Right.
that stuff. And then he's an evangelist traveling the country. You know, like with his Jewish beliefs. We're not Jewish, we're Ukrainian. So it's like, okay, go be Jewish over there.
Right.
You know, it's just, we don't discuss
Yeah.
religion
Yeah.
at all.
That's
just because of
smart.
what I do for a living.
Yeah,
You know,
I bet.
even with like my mom, like we stopped discussing what I do for a living. Like we just stopped. She's like, I can't believe you left your other career. We're not discussing this. I'm doing well, Ma.
Yeah,
I live
I'm
very well
doing
in
all
South
right.
Carolina.